Welcome to the Prospect Podcast. Friday. It's not snowing. That's a good thing. It's supposed to snow today, right? Wasn't that one of the original forecasts? I'm Coach Schumann. I'm here with Coach D as always on lovely Friday. We're excited to talk to just former Hopkins player, and before that, former UConn football player John Bechtle. We're going to talk about his journey and his ride throughout his career, coming from Watchung in New Jersey, Watchung Hills, all the way up to UConn, all the way to playing there for 4 years, and then taking his graduate degree at Johns Hopkins. Obviously a really smart guy, not just a football player, because otherwise he would not end up at Hopkins. So you got to be a smart dude to get in there. And graduating with his environmental engineering master's in the spring, upcoming spring here. So welcome to the Prospect Podcast, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
It's great. It's always great to talk to current athletes. You basically a former athlete moving on, right? You're never a former athlete. I still believe I'm an athlete. I'm 52. So I'm still in there doing box jumps. I'm doing box jumps every day. Sure. So still try to get after it. But you went through that journey of a career. You played for some high profile name coaches over your career, and not just college, but high school as well. So it's really great to hear about, kind of your story. So welcome to the podcast, and we'd love to hear kind of your journey, throughout football and your kind of career from time you're young until all the way up till today.
Yeah. So basically I'll start off from the very beginning. Grew up in Warren, Watchung Hills, Pop Warner system, and then up into high school. I got there, and Coach Soybert became the head coach at Watchung Hills. Very exciting. Obviously, he was an NFL player, played for the Giants, won a Super Bowl. David Tyree, that Super Bowl. So played for him for 4 years. He was great for my development. COVID started around junior, senior year, and camps and stuff were starting to get closed down. There was not a lot of, recruiting exposure for me going into college. So I had a few PWO offers, UConn, Rutgers. I decided to go to UConn. Coach Edsel, brought me on. Freshman year, played 9 games on special teams. And then during that season, Coach Edsel actually got fired, and we moved on from him. We had an interim coach during that season. And then the next season, Coach Mora came in during the spring. I played in the spring, just regular spring ball practices. And I guess the coaching staff was impressed, so they offered me a scholarship after the spring and the summer.
It's awesome.
And and then from there we went 6 and 7 the next year. Made a bowl game, Myrtle Beach Bowl. Continued to play on special teams. My junior year, I actually tore my ACL in the spring before the 2023 season, so I couldn't play. Obviously, I kind of served as an analyst per se. Like I did a lot of signaling and stuff for the defense, helped out during practice and games. Worked my way back, came back the following spring, and we had a really good season. We went 8-4, made the Fenway Bowl, and beat UNC in the Fenway Bowl. And then I graduated, and I'm a realistic person, so I knew I wasn't going to really have a shot in the NFL. I decided to test out the transfer portal, and I made the academic decision to go to Johns Hopkins. It was kind of hard, my senior year at UConn, I was a captain, and it was kind of tough to leave there. Like, I loved it there. I loved the people there, the coaching staff. But I made the 40-year decision to go to Hopkins, and that's where I am now. We had a good year this year. Lost in the Final Four to River Falls, and can't complain. It's been a great ride.
No doubt. it's worked out really good. You played really good teams, and obviously at UConn you were probably at Watchung Hills too. You were part of the rebuilding of that program,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
yep, and then you were part of the rebuild at UConn, and then obviously not the rebuild, but I mean, really, Johns Hopkins has gone to a whole nother level. Like they were always pretty good, but like in the last 2 years and this year, obviously into the Final Four, and that heartbreaking loss in the Final Four. But it was, I mean, you guys were like inches away from to not just going for final, but having really a chance to win the whole thing. It's amazing what that program has become as well. Talk about a little bit, like, first of all, like what got you interested in playing football? What was it about football in high school that really gravitated to you for you, and what was what was it like playing for Coach Seibert?
Yeah, so I mean, from a young age, just like any kid, I played football and loved it. It was my primary sport, and the dream was to always go play college football. I wanted to go to college specifically because both my parents were. I was a first generation student. Both my parents didn't go to college, so it was just kind of a big milestone for me that I wanted to accomplish. And I saw football as a way to progress myself and to make it easier to go to college. And playing for Coach Seibert, like, he was just unbelievable, like, football mind, and he's great with the kids, and he taught me so much. I credit most of like what has happened to him, like hard work, dedication, resilience, all that stuff. He taught me, so it was obviously instrumental, learning under him to getting where I am today.
It's phenomenal. When you decided to walk on at UConn, so that had like talk about your recruiting process, because obviously it was during COVID and a lot of it, and so that made it obviously a lot more difficult. Like, what was that process like, and what made you kind of choose to walk on at UConn? How was your kind of selection process of what you were going to do?
Yeah, so coming out of high school, I thought I was a pretty decent player. I definitely had a chip on my shoulder because I wasn't getting a lot of responses from coaches, and there were no camps going on, so it was tough.
Yeah, it was a really weird time. Like, it was it's tough anyway, but like even that time was just so different. You know what I mean? It's like there's nothing going on. It was really hard. So you were kind of double down, not being odds stacked against you.
Yeah, definitely. So I thought that I was a high enough caliber to play FCS definitely, or potentially FBS. So when Coach Seibert had set it up, I guess he had a contact the running backs coach at the time at UConn, and they had a conversation, and obviously that opened up to me. And then Rutgers.
Was that EJ? Was that EJ at the time, or no?
That was before.
He came in later, right? Okay.
Yeah. So that opened up for me, and I weighed my options. It was pretty much either that or to go to a high academic D3, which is funny enough where I ended up anyways. But
yeah, it's funny how that works, right?
Yeah. But like the NESCAC schools and some of the Centennial schools and stuff. But decided to go to UConn, and obviously everything from there was great. I wouldn't change a thing.
No doubt. And so you were captain under Moore, all right. So talk about when you came in there, Randy was there. That was a tough year for UConn. And that was really the last year of him being a head coach. Talk about the transition to a new coach. Like, what did you have to learn? What were some of the things you had to adapt to when Mora came in that you had to figure out, right? Because a new coach, different philosophy, different, like, he didn't recruit you, right? So like talk about that and how you adjusted, because obviously you adjusted very well becoming a captain. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so obviously I'm sure many people have experienced. Coaching change isn't easy. Coach Edsel had a very drastically different coaching style than Coach Mora. And coming in as a freshman, high school is a lot different than college with how it's organized, the class schedule, there's a lot more freedom. So it was difficult because all I knew was one version of college football. And then when Coach Edsel got fired, it changed. And then when Coach Mora came in, obviously it was a lot different. So, just getting used to that was challenging. But that entire my freshman year season in 2021 was difficult because we weren't winning games. We felt like we had a better team than our record showed. And then Coach Moore actually got announced during my freshman year. I guess it was right before we played Clemson, and he came to the Clemson game. And there was a lot of buzz and excitement about that, former NFL coach and what he would bring to the program. So a lot of guys became optimistic about what could happen, and that really helped out the program. And then once the season ended, he took over in the spring, and workouts and spring ball, he was there, obviously with his new staff, and with all the new faces and new people evaluating you. It's tough because they don't know anything about you. They didn't recruit you, so they don't know you personally. So it was hard, but it was great once you started to get acclimated with those people. And basically from there it was pretty much just working hard and keeping my head down, doing good in school, and they started to respect me. But some guys didn't. I would say they wouldn't buy it. They didn't fully buy into what was happening, and Coach Moore was definitely hard on certain people and everyone as a whole that was returning, because he wanted to kind of thin the herd and make the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's got to figure out which guys can handle his coaching style and which guys cannot. And especially when you have a coaching change at the high level like that, right, where you've invested scholarships in certain guys, the transfer portal was really just kind of coming into what we see now. So it wasn't just like, hey, like, you're not going to play here, go. You know what I mean? So you kind of got to, through actions, right, and kind of unwritten words, right, just kind of force certain guys to go a different direction, and for their sake just as well, right? Because if it's not going to work, then, hey, you got to go somewhere else where you could have an opportunity. And look, and I'm sure a lot of those guys that were your teammates went and found other places to play and finish their careers and whatever, but they just weren't a Coach Moore fit. What do you think was your biggest attribute that kind of made you become a guy for him that was now like, all right, I'm going to roll with this guy? What do you think brought you to the top of that?
Well, I would say that, like, overall as an athlete and in the classroom, I was consistent, and that's something that college coaches really appreciate. Like, they'd rather play a guy with less talent that's consistent and they can rely on than a talented guy that gives 100% effort some of the time.
Right.
And,
no doubt.
I gave my 150% whenever I could, and it obviously worked out for me. But also, I think it helped out that Coach Mora, when he was at Washington as a player, he started off as a walk-on and earned his scholarship. So there was some type of connection there that definitely helped me. And, we became pretty close. I was on the leadership council and a captain. So, that definitely was the determining factor, though, just like that, the effort and consistency.
Well, it's a huge accomplishment, I think, for a walk-on to become a captain, because you probably could look at the history of UConn. That's probably pretty rare. So it's really is. It's got to be a tribute to your leadership and what Mora thought about you, obviously, to make you a captain.
Right. Almost like, hey, this is the example. Like, this is what we want a UConn guy to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, gritty, hardworking. I'm not going to have to like chase you to class or worried about if you're doing the right things. You know what I mean? And then, oh, it's a bonus that he can, knock the shit out of people. You know what I mean? Like that's, I think especially coming in
the transfer portal era, I think that's a big thing because they lack, even obviously, you guys brought in obviously a million transfers, right? So, you're kind of become the glue for the program, right? Because there's a lot of guys coming in, coming out. Who are they going to go to that understands the school more? Obviously, you do. Who understands what Mora does? Obviously, you do. So, like those kind of things become really, really important. I think it's an interesting thing because I didn't know that you were captain. This was not this year, but 2 years ago, right? 2 seasons ago, and obviously that was a big groundbreaking year that year for UConn. You guys were what 9-4, I think that year, right? Or
Yeah, we finished 9-4.
9-4. And what they finished this year? 9-4 also, or I think it was 9-4 also. So that was like the most wins. I don't know, maybe in history for UConn. Okay, I think 9 wins was the most they've ever had. Maybe it was it was at worst the second most. And it was the first time in a long time that they had that amount of wins. I mean, going back to probably when Randy was there the first time, when they had like Orlovsky and that team.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is like the fact that you were the captain on that team. It shows that to me, like the leadership that Mora entrusted in you and his ability to lead too, because he understood, I think, very well, which I didn't know this. I'm, really kind of like thinking back now to that time. He understood that when you have 50 new guys coming in, 40 new guys coming in each year, that there's certain things that you need to have that are pillars within your team that can help the team become the team that you guys became. So it's really interesting. Obviously, it's a tribute to obviously your leadership capabilities. And it's also a tribute to his ability to identify guys that can help a program like all the college programs now, right? Like even Hopkins has transfers, right? So, right. So, all the programs now has transfers and those guys that are there that are, a part of the program for a long period of time or longer period of time, give it a chance to have success. Like if you want to win the transfer portal, or if you have, all transfers running everything, it's probably not going to be as good as guys who have been there combined with those transfers, obviously that can be dynamic and do a lot of great things from an athletic standpoint. So talk about like what you think kind of put you over the top with respect to Mora, that he was like, yeah, this is a guy that I think could really help our program and help lead the other guys that are on the team.
So I'll just give a quick shout out to Coach Tyson Brown. He was our strength coordinator, our strength coach, and he did a fantastic job at bringing the guys together. And that's an underrated part of that job title, being the strength coach, that you're working with these guys all the time, like pretty much every day. And
more so than position coaches, to be honest,
absolutely.
when it comes to it. Absolutely. The strength staff has more interaction at the college level with the players themselves than the actual position coaches, throughout the off season, in season, it just one by rules. And then just based off of, college coaches are on the road recruiting, they're doing this, they're doing that. Like your strength staff are boots on the ground, January 5:30 a.m. workouts. Like it's those guys, right? It's that strength staff that really has that team, for the most part, more so than the coaches.
Yeah. So obviously that's a testament to him. And now he actually just accepted the job at Indiana. So you can tell that he's, a great coach, but he made it hard on us. Our offseason program was no joke. I would say it's probably up there at top 10, 15 in the country, hardest, off-season strength programs. And I think really where I made my impression was in the off-season with how I, like pushed other guys, how I pushed myself. I like to think that I was consistently giving 125% effort. And I think that kind of set myself apart from some of my other teammates. Everyone was going hard, but
Right.
that just, kind of set myself apart a little bit. And that's really where Coach Moore's trust in me started to grow and materialize.
Yeah, I think that's I think you kind of undated it, probably, obviously, but there's no doubt that that's a in order to be named captain and lead a team that was like one of the best in UConn history. There's a lot to that. Hopefully, so now that you're getting ready to graduate from Johns Hopkins, you're gonna. I know. Listen, Johns Hopkins alumni probably blows away our alumni at UConn, even though we have some great ones. But if
yeah, I know, but what I'm saying,
but if Johns Hopkins does not have what you need, I definitely would like to connect you with some people. So from UConn, see, because us old folks, you know what I mean. Those are all the people that they're all running things now. So these guys. So, but especially what is explain to me environmental engineering, just so I understand it a little bit better.
So I'm primarily interested in water treatment, and I'm really interested in like stormwater treatment and runoff, and the whole system behind that. I did some stuff at UConn that was involved with bioretention, so like green roofs, rain gardens, stuff like that. There's obviously different scales of projects, but that's really interesting to me. And at Hopkins, it's been mostly water treatment, like wastewater treatment and just regular water treatment from reservoirs and stuff. So that's primarily what I'm involved with. But there are a bunch of different things, like obviously CO2 and renewable energy is another big branch of it. But I'm more in the water side of things.
Very cool. Very, very, very interesting. Yeah, I think that there are. So you would go in. Would you go in with respect to like working with organizations that are working within communities from a water treatment standpoint, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, that's a big part of it that I would be interested in. Consulting, and ultimately, as of right now, this is subject to change, but I want to get my my license in engineering. I want to get my PE, my professional engineering license. So that's the end goal. That's years down the line, but that's kind of what I want to get into. But a lot of people do consulting and stuff like that.
Very, very, very cool. There's a couple of people I want to connect. Well, one of the guys I played ball with was, I believe he was an environmental. That was your major at UConn, right? Environmental science.
Yep.
I believe he was an environmental science major, and then he went into more of like the he has his own company in this area, I believe now, but he went more into like landscape architecture and those kind of things.
Oh, sure. Yep.
But for a long time, worked with did like strategic planning for like larger like building compositions and all the things associated with that. You know what I mean? But yeah, but that was kind of his original like roots was in that space, and probably worked in a lot of environmental things early on in his career, if I'm not mistaken. Like he worked for like Wesleyan University and like all their like planning. So it ties into some of those things with like larger organizations. But he might be able to connect you if he doesn't have himself, but he might be able to connect you with people that obviously he does a lot of business within that kind of exact space. Because as you remember, he was my class, and he was a brilliant guy, by the way. Sometimes he'd talk about things I would have no idea what he's talking about. But brilliant guy. Actually, a Jersey guy too. Played at Colts Neck. I think he played at Colts Neck Heights.
Huh,
He's
nice.
from Colts Neck. I can't remember if he was Colts Neck or RBC. He might have been RBC, but I can't. He was one of the two. He's either Colts Neck or RBC. But he was from Colts Neck, New Jersey. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of and you probably met because he was our big NIL guy. You probably met Mike Burton when you were at UConn, because he probably was hanging around a lot because he did the NIL, right? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I ran into him a few times. Obviously, NIL started to ramp up a lot more near the tail end of my career, but
Right.
he's like the lead, guy when it comes to NIL.
Go-to guy. Yeah.
Or at,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his father's name is on the building when you get the Burton Center. Yeah. Unfortunately, his father passed away in the past year, but his father was a great guy. He's a great guy. He took over the father's, or him and his brother took over their father's company. But like, yeah, they are they're great people. They're great people. And he was like a freshman, I think, when I was what? He was not a freshman. He's probably 2 years younger than me. So he probably graduated maybe 98, 99-ish time frame. But yeah, like he was pretty instrumental in bringing like Skylar Bell there, making sure he got what he needed, and a couple other guys, probably Hanson, probably, and some of those other guys that did really well. But yeah, like those, it's great and obviously Hopkins. I mean, good golly, the connections you'll end up getting there. Don't be shy about asking about connections. People that are connected to football, ask your head coach, especially at Hopkins, to connect you. When I played for Lou Holtz at UConn, and Lou was great like that. This is Lou Jr., so which is his nickname was Skip Holtz. And so Skip Holtz was really great about connecting. Like, he connected me with like all these different companies. So, don't be afraid to ask your head coach from Hopkins for that. You know what I mean? Because he'll know things, but if you don't say something to him, he'll probably think this is how all coaches are. They'll just think you're all right because you're like a good guy. You're a leader. You're a smart guy. You have a great, and he'll just think, hey, you know what? Like, he's going to figure it out. You know what I mean? And, but he'll know people, because especially the way the world is now with NIL and the donor-driven world, like he's probably meeting with those guys all the time for different capacities. And obviously, since lacrosse is so huge at Hopkins, and they're a big time, so they're going to have a bunch of guys that are really, really involved. That's my advice. Go network with as many of those guys you can, and even if they're not in your space, because you have a specific niche space, they're going to probably know like a guy, oh, I can connect you with this guy that might be in your space, or he might know someone that's in your space, and boom, 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 you're connected where you want to be. And next thing you know, you're in a better position from that standpoint. But you're a smart guy. You'll figure it out. Talk a little bit about, but yes, if Derek will, if you would like me to connect you with a couple places, I'm glad to do it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it they may know more guys, you know what I mean, that can put you in that space. I'm in the sports place, so I'm of no help for you. I'm of no help for you in that area. So anyway, so talk a little bit about, now you played for UConn. You had obviously played in a great situation at the end of your career there. Your decision to transfer and go to Johns Hopkins, I'm sure part of it was academic, obviously. Talk about what that decision was like, what that transition was like.
Yeah, so after my senior season, it was coming down to, obviously, I was going to have to make a decision about what I was going to do now that I was graduated, if I wanted to get a master's degree. And I was looking at some of the programs at UConn, and obviously it's a fantastic school, and they had a lot of stuff that was interesting to me, but I really wanted to get my master's in engineering, and they didn't really have exactly what I wanted at UConn. So that's what kind of prompted me to enter the transfer portal. And I started hearing from schools right away, a few FCS schools, a few FBS schools, but not too many. But so funny enough, my good friend, one of my best friends from home, he was my quarterback at Watchung Hills. He was at Cornell and was graduating and was going to transfer as well. And he got the in with Hopkins, was talking to the wide receivers coach and was going to transition there. So I figured, while I'm in the portal, might as well put my hat in the ring and try to get through admissions. And I got into the school, so he was going to go there already, and I decided, this is probably great for me as well. And that's pretty much the final factor of why I went to Hopkins. But obviously, it was the academics at the end of the day, not him going there.
Right.
That had a huge role in me going there. And like in this house I'm at right now, we live together in Baltimore and played together this season for the first time since high school. So that was great.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's been great.
No doubt about it. That's phenomenal. You guys had a great season. What was so talk a little bit about on the football side, what the transition was. There differences in how they approached football from Hopkins to UConn, like at Division I level? Was there any differences? I know you guys have phenomenal facilities, obviously, because it's my brother's an assistant coach on the track team at UConn. I mean at Johns Hopkins.
Okay.
So and so he talks about how like we have D1 facilities, like even though we're Division III track program. So and just like football, they're like.
Well, Coach Giovanni talked about that as well, right? When we had him on, that was one of the first things that he said when we started talking. Obviously, FBS to FC, FCS, the levels of college football and kind of what it entails. Talked about John Hopkins almost being, they're kind of the outlier in that a lot of their teams are Division I in comparison to football, who's Division III. So even though you're playing Division III football, your facilities are still on par with, the Division I level or the highest level, which adds, throws a whole different wrench into, the conversation.
Yeah. At Hopkins, like you guys mentioned, we had great facilities. Obviously it helps having, one of the best lacrosse programs in Division I at your university. So I would say across Division III, there's obviously a big difference. Like we were obviously lucky at Hopkins to get those facilities. Another big difference for me, obviously football is football and there are dogs at every level, but the staff differences from FBS to Division III, those guys at Division III, like I have a lot of respect for them because they are almost at times working 3 or 4 jobs at once.
No doubt.
You would have, 10 people doing one thing at UConn, and there's, 2 guys doing that same thing at Hopkins, maybe 1. When it comes to recruiting, like our defensive line coach at Hopkins was the recruiting coordinator, and he would do all that. And our offensive coordinator was also the tight ends and quarterbacks coach. Like you would have 3 separate, maybe 4 separate, and then including analysts and GAs, you would have 8 different people for those 2 position groups. But we just had 1 guy doing it at Hopkins. So that was a little different for me because I was so used to seeing, so many different people on staff in the facility at UConn. But at the end of the day, we still made it work, still got things done, obviously won a lot of games. So, like I said, a lot of respect for those guys for doing all that. Coach Giovanni and all the other guys on staff are great and definitely instrumental to the success of the program.
That's really interesting distinction too, because the number of staff members that and a lot of people don't realize that
they have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, look, it could be more intimate in the sense that you get to probably know, there's a lot more people that you're able to interact with on a regular basis at a Division III level versus at the Division I level.
Outside of your position specific room too.
Outside of your position. Right. Obviously your position, no matter where you're at, that's the guy you're going to be interacting with. But that's really interesting because those guys are working, on multiple things and still obviously expected to game plan the same way that like a Division I coach would. Meanwhile, they also have to do like 3 other jobs at the same time. Right. So,
and work the basketball game at night as a site supervisor. You know what I mean?
And you're paid a lot less too.
Yeah,
and you're paying a lot less.
and that freshman
better than most D3s is my guess.
I agree. I totally agree. Right. And Dave, it's one of those questions, John. It's one of the questions that when we have Division 3, Division 2, NAIA guys that I usually ask, is I always love to hear, what their staff makeup is like. How many full-time guys do you have? How many this? How many that? You know what I mean? And look, 4, 5 guys full-time. This guy comes after he teaches his high school classes and then comes and coaches. I think Hopkins is a little different
you have
in that
7 or 8 full-time,
right?
right?
Yep.
Hopkins?
That's what Kerbani was saying. Yep. And then, guys will throw some GAs in there, but we're not talking, the FBS level where the recruiting staff only recruits, or, you know what I mean? You have
the Gatorade guy is just the Gatorade guy.
I mean, look, I'll be very honest. Like, you go to a spring practice at Rutgers, and every position group not only has a position coach, but they have usually an assistant or a GA. They have, 2 athletic trainers and an equipment guy per, just look at individual drills and you see how many people hover around each individual drill. You're talking 6 staffers right there, regardless of what their titles are, right?
That's what changed so dramatically.
You got people setting up your drills, whereas Division 3, it's like, I got the cones, right? Or, hey, John, grab the cones as you're coming over, right? It's just
– and there used to be a rule, but there used to be a rule Division 1 when I played, and then pretty much through when you played, then it started to change a little bit after that. I think they changed the rule.
Yep. I'm the era that's like the last of the last when it comes to that
I think
world.
you are.
You know what I mean?
Because even at Division 1, you used to be limited to, I can't remember if it was at one time 9 coaches, then they moved it to 12, and now it's like unlimited. Now it's completely unlimited.
Well,
but they used to have that
rule.
Just
throw the analyst on it. You got guys like
breaking.
Former head coaches or analysts.
Well, that's right, because so they allowed more coaches on the field, basically because first Saban was like doing he'd hire every fired head coach, and they would if he didn't have a room for them as an assistant, they were still an assistant, but they were analysts. So he'd be flooded with every former head coach, and they were like, "Wait a minute," or retired head coach.
It's like,
that was the other thing
right.
You used to have all these old guys.
This guy just got fired from Tennessee, but he's an analyst at Alabama.
Well, you would have guys that were in their 60s or 70s that were head coaches.
Coaches rehab
in the 1980s. You know what I'm saying? In the early 90s, they were head coaches. And now they're 65, 70 years old. They were analysts. I mean, that's a huge advantage. So, these guys were all over the place. He had them. So they were eventually just was like, you know what? Like, as many coaches you want to have, you want to pay for, you can pay for them. And, as many staffers you want to have, because that's why you see even UConn, which is obviously not as big as Alabama they have endless guys. It's just whatever they could afford to bring in, they're going to bring in. It's really interesting. And D3, they still obviously, because of budgeting constraints, you're going to be limited to a certain amount of head coaches. Full-time coaches. But that's I think is probably the number one biggest difference. What about? I'm curious. Were you there for off-season training in the summer when you got to Hopkins or no? Or were you the guy that came in August?
Yeah, I came in August, and we pretty much rolled right into the season. So,
well, I think that's a huge change as well, right? When you're at UConn, spring ball, ends, semester ends. All right, maybe you go home for a week or two, and you're back on campus for summer workouts, and the whole team is there, right? And the new guys coming in are there, and it's just Division 3. Shit, spring ball, if you want to even call it spring ball, when I was in it, right? Because it was the first, when I got there, it was the first year they were allowed to even use a ball for spring ball, right? Before that, they were using tennis balls and towels. And then it was semesters over, hey, here's somewhat of a workout structure for the summer that I'd like you to follow, but camp starts this day. We'll see you then. And that was really kind of how it was. Nobody stayed on campus. Nobody worked out together. It just wasn't what it was. I know it's evolved a little bit now, and guys do certain things like get a house off campus and then work out together at the facility or whatever, if you can finagle and move that. But there was no uniformity or formality that, like, as in the, like, you know, that summer you stayed and you worked out. Was that an adjustment for you, John? I mean, look, you're a smart kid, so obviously, like, learning a system probably wasn't much of an issue for you going in. But talk about that a little bit, how that, you know, here you are, it's August camp. You've already played 4 years FBS. Now you're going into a Division III. What was that adjustment like for you, not having a summer where you were around those guys on your team?
Yeah, that obviously, you know, there's two sides of the coin, and you can look at it one way saying, you know, that really sucks. You don't have any summer. You have to go work out. And then the other side of things, which is more of what I agree with, is it's great for team building and development. And when I graduated high school, you know, we had prom and graduation, and then I had to go to UConn and maybe a week after that. You know, you report in
Right.
May, at the end of May, and you're there, you know, working out and you know, meeting and doing all that type of stuff. UConn had a great bridge program where freshmen are kind of, you know, worked on separately to really get them developed and acclimated with school. You know, you take maybe 3 classes and kind of get used to the college lifestyle. Obviously, there's no, you know, social distractions with people being there yet. So guys get used to, you know, the school structure and how the workouts are. And then once the season rolls around, everyone starts to get put together. It was a lot different, obviously, at Hopkins. Going into the summer, I was like, okay, so when's the report date? And it's come to find out it's not until like August. And, you know, I wasn't like lost, but I was kind of like, what do I do? But we have a great.
It's all right. Thank God you had a teammate that like was your buddy, and you're like, dude, where is this? Where the hell's the lot? Like, where am I going? Like, where's this building? Right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like, how do we do this? Because it's different.
Where did you train in the summer? Did you train? What did you go to a facility or?
So I was always a test guy. I'm not sure if you know what.
Test. Of course.
Oh yeah, we're very familiar.
Yeah, so like that, and then I would do stuff on my own. But we have a great, obviously, another byproduct of having a Division I lacrosse team. We have a great strength staff at Hopkins. Coach Joe Alexander does a great job, and there's an app that they would upload workout programs and stuff and conditioning, and you were supposed to take videos of, like, you know, your final conditioning rep and stuff. So they knew that you were on task and getting
right.
stuff.
They were hands on with it. Yeah,
but it was a lot different than like at UConn. Like, you're physically there and they're watching you and critiquing you. So it was definitely a big adjustment. You know, I kind of did it in the reverse order because when I went to Hopkins, like, I was so used to it being harder, like and you know, more stuff going on. But for high school kids, it's probably a little different. But I would say that's one of the great parts of Division III is, you know, obviously as a competitor, you want to get better and, you know, work out and train, but you get a little more time to yourself to enjoy it. You can still do a workout whenever you want during the day, and then, you know, go to the beach with your buddies or whatever you want to do. So it was different, but I got adjusted to it pretty quick. You know, I found out how to manage my time, and I was used to that already. So it wasn't too bad, but it's definitely a whole lot different.
The academic rigor while playing there, what was the difference between UConn? And don't worry, it won't hurt my feelings. So,
yeah,
it won't.
But also, hey, Dave, I don't think John's one that, like, his senior year at UConn, I don't think he was, a Matt Leinart taking ballroom dancing here. You know what I mean? I mean, he's, I still think he was taking his classes like he should have.
Well, no, I know you. I know.
He's not taking hula. He's not taking hula.
Rigor. I'm just curious. Obviously he's in the master's program, so it's obviously very specific.
Right.
Too,
graduate work is very different. Look, I can remember even a player with me at Montclair State who was a 5th-year guy, came back. Don't ask me why, because he was a fullback as well. Like, I have no idea why you're doing this, brother. But, like, he came and did graduate work. His undergrad was finished, right? So he took all night. Like, he had class 2 nights a week, and that was it. And just played college football, which was unbelievable in itself. I'm sure Johns Hopkins graduate program is a little different. But in comparison to UConn, what was that academic rigor like?
Like you guys said, it's kind of like apples to oranges when it comes to undergrad and grad school. But
absolutely,
yeah, no doubt.
I would say that the school, the classes and stuff at Hopkins are definitely more rigorous than UConn. There's, the gap isn't as big as you would think it would be. It kind of depends on what you're trying to do and how many classes you take. But like here at Hopkins, I'm trying to get my degree done in a year, so I'm taking 5 courses a semester, which is
Jesus
for a student at Hopkins. But in UConn, I was taking 4 classes, and they were slightly easier. So, like, obviously, it's a lot more difficult now. But overall, I would say that Hopkins is a little harder.
No doubt. It's like, I was in the business school. Now you're a really smart guy, so you're probably taking some tougher courses. But I remember, like, I would see some of my teammates. I'm like, what's that class you're taking? And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. I'm like, what is that major?
Line dancing 101, swimming,
communications, like
every general ed course you could possibly think of. I'm like, wait, I'm like, what's your major?
I'm like, how do you
general studies?
How do you not have a 4.0 in that major? Like,
everybody's communications.
That's
like,
I used to
communications.
Yeah, one of the elective courses at UConn was it was some easy course there were a few. I'll name 2 of them. One was Witches and Wizards, was like an elective class that everyone knew about and everyone was taking. I didn't personally take it, but that was I took badminton.
Yeah, I took badminton because you had to fill, like, I don't know if they still do, but yes, you used to have to fill
I had to fill one phys ed requirement, like one phys ed requirement for what I had. I took
one full 3 credit version of it or whatever.
Took swimming.
Yeah,
I took badminton, and then I took tennis.
Yep.
I took advanced tennis.
Nice.
But this is my non-football, and I was a track athlete too in high school. But my non-football and track shining moment as an athlete in the advanced tennis class, I made it to they had, like, at the end of the semester we had a tournament, and my partner that I would practice with was on the tennis team. He was just like I don't know if he was in, like, grad school or something. He was no longer playing. So he's a tennis player at UConn. So obviously he was really good. You know what I mean? And so he was my partner. I would hit back and forth with him. And because I hit back and forth with him, by the time I didn't even know they were going to have a tournament, but I would hit with him and we'd serve each other. I got so much better in that semester.
Yeah.
The tournament game, I wiped through the whole thing. And the person I had to then face in the championship was him, which, by the way, I was like, how could you even be allowed to play in this thing? But he went and he blanked me 6-1. So I was so excited that I got to the championship. I'm like, it was all because of him. I hit because he knew me, you know what I mean? Like, he knew, like, athletes kind of know, even if you don't hang out with me, kind of know who everybody is for the most part. And so we were like, I'll just hit with you. And he got me so much better just hitting with him that I made it to the championship. That was my non-football or track shining moment.
It's funny, John, that you talk about, what was it? Wizards. What was it? What was the class?
Wizards
Witches and Wizards.
I love it.
Witches and Wizards, right? And I laugh because here I am coaching high school ball, and we have Harry Potter as a class.
Oh, that's right. I remember you told me that. That's crazy.
Yeah, because
although at least Harry
Potter
Potter though is at least.
I got it. It's related
You know
to English.
Saying?
You
like,
can read a book. You can do some of that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I got Villanova coming in going, hey, what's this Harry Potter on this kid's transcript? Like, he got a C in it. And I'm like, buddy, don't, please. I don't even want to, like, this.
They
is
should
what
at
we're
least
talking
call
about.
it like. They should at least.
It's just funny though. Like
arts or something. They should call it like
you gotta spice it up 100%. Like
you gotta change that name. You can't call it Harry Potter.
My first, and
that's gotta be like fictional arts or something.
And I can't really dog on the class, right, or bring it down because the teacher of the course itself, her daughter is probably my best girls flag player or one of the best, right? So I'm not trying to crush. She's also the head field hockey coach. Like I'm not trying to crush.
You gotta change the name of it though, right?
But I asked. I said, "What do you like? Do you guys just like walk in capes with wands and like?" I'm like, "What is the process of this course? Do you like we read it, watch it, whatever?" I think everybody has those classes. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hopkins would be smart enough. Hopkins would be smart enough not to call it Harry Potter, right? Like, or badminton class. Like they wouldn't call it badminton at Hopkins. They would call it something a little fancier. So it shows up on like when there's interviewing for a job, you know, it would be like exercise physiology racket, you know, like something like that, just to make sure it like, you know, shows up as like a little more, you know,
curious educationally based. In your experience as a student athlete, you're at UConn, bigger school, right? Obviously, but you know, I feel like you were probably known that you were on the football team, right? Like guys knew, like when you walked across, hey, that's a football guy. Now you go to Johns Hopkins where everybody knows the athletes, but I wouldn't say it's the forefront of why people go to Johns Hopkins, right? So what was that like in terms of like just your presence on campus, in terms of how like the regular ed students, like, did they know you were a football player? Like, how does that kind of work when, you know, or what's the difference kind of in, you know, hey, I'm a football player at UConn. Now I'm a football player at Johns Hopkins. You know, what was that kind of experience like off the field?
Just like obviously based on someone's stature, you can kind of tell.
Yeah, no shit. Like
it was a little more obvious at UConn because, you know, we had some guys that were bigger, just how
measurables. Yeah,
how the measurables are at FBS schools, but you know, it's not like you're sticking out like a sore thumb. You know, people kind of have an inkling about that you might be, but no one looks at you any differently because.
Right. Maybe that's the way maybe I phrased the question wrong. Are you looked at in a negative context at Johns Hopkins because you're an athlete as well? And most guys aren't there to be athletes. They're there because it's Johns Hopkins. Like maybe that's the way I should have phrased it.
So from what I understand at Hopkins, they have a tough time sometimes recruiting kids because I don't think the admissions program takes too much doesn't take sports into account as much as other schools.
Absolutely. So they're not going to jeopardize what Johns Hopkins actually is as an academic institution just to have a guy who's really good at football come to that school.
Yeah, so you can't be a pushover to get into school. So people don't look at you differently if you're on a athletic program. As a matter of fact, from what I understand, I haven't been here all too long, like as long as kids that have been here for 3 or 4 years, but the professors at Hopkins love athletes and, you know, will try to help them out. And like, you know, there's some people like there was actually I don't know the professor personally, but there was a jersey for a professor that was retiring that our head coach, you know, had it in his office and was telling guys to come through and sign it because he would come to the games and support. So a lot of the professors, they almost look at you as, you know,
Well, they hold you in a higher standard.
Yeah, that's a good.
They respect the fact that you can do both, right? Because most guys can't handle the academic rigor, the structure, continue to pull a 3.5 GPA and go and play football, which is a full-time job in itself, right? Like that was one of the things too, like always at both schools that I went to. At Sacred Heart, it was great because obviously it was a Catholic university. So religion was one of those courses you had to take, which wasn't a pushover course, by the way, Coach Schumann. But, I can still remember or see his face, like Father Meehan, he loved it and was like, wait, you play football? Like, that's great. Like, that's awesome. Whatever I can do, I go to every game. And, they respect the fact that you're putting in that extra work and all of those kind of things. I for the most part, I think, and I'm sure it's the same at Hopkins. Those guys see the rigor that you go through and understand it and kind of, lobby for you in terms of, wow, this really, like, this is a student athlete, right? Like they can do more than just go back to their dorm and study or whatnot, right? I think that respect factor across the board, runs deep when it comes to professors because they respect it. Right. And then, I think more guys like yourself, I don't think have that communication. I mean, look, it was the first thing I did every semester was inform every professor I had that I played football at the school. And I was there to be a student first, though. I didn't want them to think that I was just trying to get a breeze through by introducing myself and doing whatever. It was just kind of one of those things like, hey, I do that as well, especially in season when, it gets tough. You know what I mean? Like when you're structured in practice and games and all that kind of stuff. And, as you get towards the end of your career, you only can take certain classes at certain times that are offered for your major, so maybe you did have to skip out of practice or you were a little late to class. Like I just wanted them to understand that, hey, I do this as well. And in my personal experience, the feedback was always extremely positive. They were more helpful than hurtful when it came to it. I'm not saying they would, change my grade. Some did, but that was awesome. But, that's a side note. But they also just respected it that you were kind of boosting the university's, like how people viewed that university, right? Or how they viewed the students that were going there. And I'm sure Hopkins has a high standard, like you said, in terms of admission. Like you're not getting in here just because you play football. Like you have to be able to handle the academic side of it, on top of it.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. Like coming out of high school, I had a very good GPA, and still Hopkins was, we need you to get this SAT score or this ACT score. So obviously, academics is above all else. It doesn't matter what sport you play, how good you are at your sport. Academics is, it's the most important thing.
It's obviously that's what makes it a phenomenal educational institution. All right, so what is next? What's next for you as you're approaching, the end of your graduate degree there at Hopkins? What would be next for you?
So I'm just trying to obviously get through my program and not try to slack and finish it off the right way. And then I don't want to say the J word, but I gotta find a job, obviously. That's the next step for me. Just trying to network, use the resources they have here. I actually had a quarterly master's meeting with some of the people in my program, and they were giving a bunch of different resources for Hopkins alumni, just general people in your field, like how to network and all that stuff. So that's really what I have to do next. And obviously football's done for me. I could get get into coaching down the road if I wanted to, I'm sure, but that football's pretty much over for me. So now it's just kind of transitioning into the real world per se.
How has that been, John? Kind of knowing that there is, the air is out of the ball, right? Like it ends for all of us at some point. Most of us have a really hard time transitioning to that next step. That's why we probably get into coaching, because we just need to be around it. How has that transition been for you mentally? I know it probably helps being in such a high level grad program where you're kind of so super focused on that as well. And believe me, it doesn't really hit until, August rolls around and you're you see all these guys that you've been teammates with or whoever reported to camp, that's when it really kind of settles in, or probably the second week of September when you're like, shit, I'm supposed to have a rolled ankle by now and fighting to get back and get on the field or whatever, which, listen, the health of your body, especially for the position you played, is going to be something that you're like, holy hell, like this is amazing, right? Like I feel great, right? But how has that transition been for you mentally? Because a lot of guys struggle with that, the end of their career, the finality of it all, something you've been doing since you were a little kid, always getting ready. Here's August, putting on a helmet. Like, how has that been for you?
Yeah, like you said, it's definitely really going to hit me when football season starts to roll around. But up to this point, I had never really come to the end of a sport. I didn't really play. I played like recreational baseball and basketball and stuff growing up, but my true devoted sport never came to an end. Like going from middle school to high school, like I knew I was going to play, and then going from high school to college, I knew that my career was going to continue and I was going to play in college. So I never was too upset about it. But after the last game, it was obviously like I was definitely emotional about it. I never had a period of time where I was really too down, because like looking back on it, like I had a lot of fun, met a lot of great people. So there's nothing, to be upset about. Good things have to come to an end at some point.
Right.
So I've, just started to accept that there's more to, obviously life than athletics. I could still, be involved in the weight room and, go play basketball, and I've been trying to play more golf. So stuff like that.
Pickleball, buddy. Pick up pickleball, I promise.
Pickleball, yeah. I played that a few times too. So there's more than one way to be an athlete, and that really kind of fills the void. But definitely when the summer rolls around, it's going to be a little upsetting seeing the guys go out there and go to war on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yep.
And yeah, but it's been all right.
It's more weird. It becomes weird after doing so much. Like,
I'm telling you, that second week in September,
you're like, one of the nightmares I used to always have as a kid growing up, and even playing in college and stuff, was I miss a bus or I missed a game, and I would have this, like, I'd be stuck in like the stands while everybody was playing, and what I'm saying, like these weird because you're so used to being structured, it's almost like, I don't know, PTSD, that you're like, I got to be here. I gotta be here. You know what I'm saying? So you start to dream about some of these things. I'm sure other athletes have these kind of crazy dreams, like you're trying to score the winning touchdown and something weird happens in your dream, but it's and then it actually happens. Like you're actually watching a game. The first time you're watching a game and you're not involved, it's a weird feeling, because you spent so much of your time dedicated to that. But it's obviously, listen, to tribute to you,
no doubt,
that you're focused in the right direction, because one of the things I always think is a shame in athletics, and is that so many athletes don't take an advantage of the opportunity that college gives you to be able to figure out what you might want to do for your career. It doesn't, you could change 10 years from now, you know what I mean? But like, okay, you go down a path, you start down the path, and that's how you begin to figure out what it is you want to do. But too many guys go through college, and we all know guys that have done that are great athletes, and they go through college, and they didn't really take the academic part seriously enough. And then they're like, career ends, and they're like, what do I do? Like, I always say, like, you don't want to ever get into a career because you have to get into a job. You want to get into a career because that's where you want to be, and because you prepared yourself for that. And the guys who have to take something because they have to take something, it's usually because they didn't do the other things up front. And then it's a longer journey from that standpoint. Like, it takes a longer time to get to where you want to be. So it's as Derek would say, kudos to you. That used to be one of your big words. Kudos to you for being.
Kudos to you.
I gotta steal it. By the way, that was one of my favorite. granola bars when I was young. They don't have them anymore. Kudos. You remember those, Derek?
Probably got all kinds of.
Oh yeah, they probably did. They were great.
They were great.
They were great granola bars. But yeah, no, it's a tribute to you really that you were able to stay down the right path and put yourself in a good position so you can be in control of what you want to start to do. So it's really, really, it's awesome. And obviously being a UConn alum, it's great to see football players that are doing what you're doing. I mean, I think that's the right move, man. The move you made, like if I could go back in time and because
that's a big boy move. Like that's really
got
hard.
my
Like,
MBA at UConn, you know.
Here you are at a Division I, a starter, a captain, leadership council, right? And then, hey,
great move.
I've done as much as I can here. For me personally, now I need to go. Like, look, you left the program better than when you got there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's obviously you had some piece of that, right? Like part of it. You watched the program go from here to there. All right, now I'm going to go make a me move because look, for me, the future and what I really want to do, this is going to benefit it. And I have this opportunity, right? And you kind of jumped on it, but I'm sure that was a very hard decision for you, right? And coach just talked about not force feeding it. Like you could have stayed at UConn and gone into a graduate program that wasn't exactly what you wanted, but you found a way to justify staying and going into it and whatnot. But no, I think in a very, very mature move for a young kid or a student athlete to make that move to not go and take something easy or not take the easy road and choose that challenge. Like, again, kudos to you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
No, there's no doubt about it. And I'll tell you when you make that decision, it's tough at the time, but it really is. It's a life-changing decision. I mean,
no doubt.
There's no doubt. And 10 years from now, when you're grinding away at some desk. I'm just kidding. Wait, no. You're gonna do really, really.
When you're in the middle of a field collecting rainwater.
You'll listen. We'll look up 15 years from now. You'll be CEO somewhere. So it's really, really cool. Cool opportunity, and it's a game changer. You made a great decision, and obviously, the people that go to Hopkins, have the opportunities for really, really some life changing stuff. So it's a tremendous. It's been an honor to talk to you. And really just kind of hear your insights, and it's no coincidence that you've had the success you have, the way that you carry yourself, and obviously you're a smart guy, and you kind of stay focused on the things that you have to do, even though your athletic career, it had bumps in the road, and you've been able to handle all those along the way. And
torn ACL, like I mean, that's a big, you know what I mean, like that in itself. We talk to sports mindset coaches all the time about overcoming things like that. You know what I mean? And here you are, right? Success, injury, right? Or even just the world of rolling the dice as a walk-on, earning that spot, scholarship, like what, just really, really glad we could get to talk to you, John, because, a lot of guys, they work to try and get to a certain point, and then something comes and something happens or whatever. And it's just, to model that, you know what I mean? And say, hey, look, this could be an opportunity. This could be a path for you, but you got to, do the right thing and continue to work hard. Right. So, I mean, just having you on to speak to it firsthand of somebody who's literally boots on the ground, has just gone through it. Right. And talk about how your consistency, your hard work, your leadership abilities, a guy that, a brand new coach coming into a program where, half the team leaves, but you're the guy that gets, that stays and becomes the staple of, and the standard of what a NFL coach, right, with a pretty good history, you know what I mean, kind of centers his program around and builds that foundation, right? Like for you, like, man, it's really good to get you on here to talk, to see, so our viewers can see that, like, this is kind of how it should work, right? And this is kind of really what needs to be done. And if you work hard, right, and you take care of business, you know what I mean? Like, good things will happen. Not that negative things won't happen along the way, but that as long as you have that hard work and that mindset of like, it's all going to be good, like you're going to be okay in the long run, you know? So to see a prime time example like yourself, man, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and talking to our viewers, you know, kind of about, you know, your story and whatnot, man.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for you guys bringing me on. It's been a great time, and yeah, I love trying to help out people that might be doing something similar to what I experienced, and yeah.
I mean, hell, I can only hope guys get that opportunity that you did. You know what I'm saying? Like that are even in that position to kind of make that thing go and whatnot. I did have one final question before we let you go, John. What were your final 3 schools? Top 3 coming out of high school were what?
UConn, obviously, Carnegie Mellon, and Rutgers were the 3 schools it came down to at the very end.
Rutgers was a PWO opportunity as well?
Yes. I wanted to actually, out of high school, I had talked to, like I mentioned earlier, I talked to Hopkins about potentially coming here. And that it just didn't really work out at the time. So they were up there on my list, but when it came down to it and I had to make my decision, it came down to Carnegie Mellon, UConn, and Rutgers. Which is, it's kind of a crazy, you don't really hear those 3 sentence, yeah, but yeah, that was it.
Okay, so that was high school to college. Now, graduate year, okay, I'm leaving UConn, top 3. Hopkins.
Well, UConn was in the mix for going
to go back.
Yeah, UConn, Hopkins.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but
well, yeah, I was talking to a few other schools. Like, I don't know if you can like really consider them to be in my top 3. I was talking to like Monmouth, and I talked to Ball State a little bit, but I think it really just came down to Hopkins and UConn at the end of the day. So yeah.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
And Dave, just to double down on what we talk about all the time, like I am sure that previous relationship of not like, that you kept with Hopkins from coming out of high school, right, mattered on the back end when now you were looking to be a graduate transfer of like, hey, I'm looking to, leave UConn for a graduate year, right? I am sure because you handled it the right way, telling them you weren't going there out of high school, they were more accepting to entertain you as a prospective student athlete coming out now after 4 years at UConn. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're absolutely right. I would say to any high school kids that might be listening, you don't want to burn any bridges, because I've been like at the same school as so many coaches that ended up going to a bigger program or even to a small program, a better academic school, all over the place. I can name probably 50 different universities that I knew someone on staff that was at UConn or Hopkins, or a former teammate that became a coach,
right,
somewhere else. Like even student managers, like equipment.
Yeah, guys you don't think are going to be anywhere, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, you're coaching tight ends where? Like,
yeah, so you want to, like, this is one thing I really respected about Coach Moore, is one of the first things he would talk about, and I saw another coach talk about it recently in a video on Twitter, but it was everybody in the facility you want to treat with the same respect as if they were your uncle, your mom, your aunt. Like the person mopping the floors, the person doing recruiting, the person taking video of practice, the person washing your clothes after practice, all that stuff. You want to treat them with the same level of respect as you would treat, a family member. So I tried to approach it that way, and that way you don't burn any bridges, and it all comes full circle. You might know somebody that coach somewhere else one day when you're trying to become a coach, and they bring you on staff because you were so friendly and you guys had a good relationship back in the day. So yeah, definitely treat everyone the same way with respect.
Awesome.
Absolutely. I'll tell you a quick funny story before you go. A quick UConn story. So when Skip Holtz replaced Tom Jackson, that was who my original head coach was, and Skip came in, which is Lou Holtz's son. He changed our equipment guy to We had a guy that had been there forever, and he changed to a much younger guy. But the guy who was the equipment manager under the first coach, and it was a little bit of the Wild West back then before Skip Holtz really ushered the program into a modern era. You know what I mean? Because they were going to go.
Well, you were going, you were going from FCS to FBS. Like that's a big transition, right?
The freshman class when I was a senior, they were the first FBS group of kids. So he was kind of tasked with that too, not just building the program, but getting it ready to go division. They thought he was going to be the guy, but he ended up getting another job, going coach with his father at South Carolina. But the guy we had before, the equipment manager, they used to have these things. They, at Derek, you probably remember, they put it on a ring, your stuff, right? You put on a loop. Get it clean, right? The loop.
Listen, I worked in the equipment department. I worked in that. That was my on-campus job at Sacred Heart. I freaking loved it. Like I did laundry for days.
So the old timer guy that was there at first, who ended up they let go after or made him retire when Skip came there. If you wanted to get extra stuff, extra gear, you had to bring him a 24-pack of beer. So like guys are bringing this guy obviously drank a lot, right? So that's one of the reasons why I think Skip, moved on from him. But that's how it was. It was a Wild West back then.
Listen, Montclair State, if you
24-pack of beer, people were bringing in like stacks of beer to him, and all of a sudden you would see gear or extra Yukon gear and extra arrive in there. It was hilarious.
Montclair State, you wanted a new pair of gloves, like it had to be a junior bacon cheeseburger from Wendy's or a Big Mac from McDonald's or an extra fry. That was the way to bribe our equipment guy, Troy, who was an amazing guy. But I'm just telling you, man, especially at there where you got, 2 gray t-shirts, 2 pairs of red shorts, 1 pair of gloves in the beginning of the season. And you know what I mean? Like, God bless you if you got another pair, because sure as hell, if you were a size large or extra large, like you weren't getting many pair, but Junior Bacon Cheeseburger got it done every single time. It's so funny.
Well, the reason why they had to get rid of him, because people were bringing cases of beer to the facility.
I can see that being a problem.
He did not want that image.
Yeah, that's a slight,
yeah. I want that. I was like, wow. I was like, Holtz, that was one of the first things he cleaned up immediately. He was like, wait a minute, what? Like, people bring.
But it also goes
18-year-old kids bringing beers to a 55-year-old man.
But full circle, right? As Coach talked about, like Coach, or as John talked about, with Coach Mora, like you treat everybody equally, and everybody is important. So you know what? So like, here's the deal: like the equipment guy, like we can't be having this guy drinking beers. You know what I'm saying in the facility or whatever.
Oh, he was. He was drinking beers.
But whatever. But well, hey, John. One thing before we go. When you were a younger cat, your offensive coordinator, Frank Joffrey, who was there, speaks extremely high of you, said this kid was such a pain in the ass to block every day in practice. Like he literally gave me headaches. So, and Coach Joffrey's been on the show and whatnot, and he coached me at Sacred Heart. So we have a really good relationship, man. So, to hear that from him, like, kind of checks every box for you. So it's always nice to hear when other guys respect you from the other side of the ball. So he definitely speaks very highly of you.
Yeah, our time together was, short-lived, but he was a great guy, and that's awesome to hear, obviously, a little pat on the back. That's great.
Great dude.
No doubt about it. Awesome, man. Well, listen, it's absolutely been a pleasure having you on today, and you're on a great path. Much continued success to you, and we look forward to seeing where you land. And then I'll if you did, I followed you on Twitter. If you want me to connect you with a couple of guys, I can. It's up to you.
Absolutely, yeah, I would appreciate that a lot.
Yep. Just send me. I followed you on Twitter. You can just send me a message with your contact, and I'll try and get you in touch with these guys, and then maybe they can if they don't have something in their space, they can point you in the right direction because they're pretty connected. So
awesome.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's been great.
Thanks, John. Awesome. Appreciate you, buddy. Good luck. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Right. Bye. All right. That was great pod, dude. Good stuff.
Man, I remember talking to him and, hey, I played 9 games as a freshman going, oh, shit, okay. You know what I mean? And then dealing with an injury, or the coaching change, and then an injury, and then I mean, really just one of those things like, hey, this is the new era of college football. Like, I can look to go somewhere else and kind of improve me, what I'm going to do post, school and post football, and makes that move. And, really, this was unheard of 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Like, guys didn't do this. You know what I mean?
You wanted to say to him, and I forgot, but, I'm going to say, so when you flip on the positive side of the transfer portal, this is the positive side of it, right?
No doubt. There's no doubt.
Transfer portal done. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways you could do it correctly or incorrectly. This is one example of how you could do it correctly. Okay. You played at a higher level program as a walk-on. It actually gave you an opportunity to go to a great Division III school for graduate school. And he was a captain there. Like obviously a great school like Johns Hopkins. I'm sure he's a very good student, but beyond that, like Johns Hopkins wants leaders in their school. Like I'm not just talking about football. I'm talking about like we want a guy that was the captain on the football team. Like that's not an easy thing to do. That's very like people don't like it's totally different from captain in high school. Like yes, that's a great leadership role, being captain in high school. It's a great first accomplishment. Guys that are leader and captains in college, like it's hard to become that either however they do, whether they voted on it or they give it, they anoint them, or to be on the leadership council, to be a captain on the team. That's a big deal in a college sports level. And I think football, it's really a huge deal because there's so many guys on the team, right? There literally is 100 some odd guys, and you're one of the few guys that is a captain on the team. So yeah, I'm no coincidence, right? That like he gets to go on to Hopkins, and like I said, that's a great example of leveraging the transfer portal in the right direction. Like you're literally doing it not just to advance yourself from an athletic standpoint, but literally to advance your future life. So
no doubt.
It's really cool. I love talking to young men like that because we get so many examples in the opposite direction, and it's much better, I think. Like when people are trying to figure it out, like how do I figure out what a good example is? There you have
there
one,
it is.
Right? There's a good example of one, right? And that's also why, like, because we talk back and forth, like what we don't like about the transfer, what we do like about it. But like these examples have to be pointed out too, because you don't want it taken away for the exact reason why he's able to go, right? Because
right.
If you think about yourself or myself, like if you go back in time and you knew that there were other opportunities available in your 5th year or a 6th year, you know what I mean? And you're like, well, I really enjoyed my time here. I played here 5 years and I still have another year of eligibility. Like, there's no harm in going somewhere else. I mean, it's not like you were dedicated to the program. You're already dedicated to the program. You're trying to figure out a way to advance your career, and everybody understands that. You know what I mean? So, I think it's really, really, really cool. And those are really great examples of how to put yourself in a positive situation. You know what I mean? It's not just
and listen, and he was a senior during COVID when it was so difficult. And like he said, there was no camps going on. So his opportunities were so minimal, right? And he's made the most out of every situation moving forward. And like now you kind of see how, the example of like, keep your head down, keep working, understand that it is what it is. And there are things that you can and cannot control. And you just, a continuous hard work and dedication to a program, doing things the right way, right? Like reaps a lot of benefits.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Really great stuff. Next week, what do we got? I have another recommendation for you if you can get a hold of them, by the way.
We have next week. Okay. We're full slate next week. Monday, we're going to talk to Zach Payne. Tuesday, we're having PJ Gibbs is going to join us again. He's coming back on because he just launched his YouTube page with all of his, 3 safety defense stuff, which is awesome. Colin Jonov will be on. Let me see. I gotta we have he's the CEO and founder of Athletic Fortitude. Really good motivational guy, talks to a lot of teams and a lot of high level executives and whatnot in that space. Chris Johnson, who's a quarterback coach, he'll be on. And then
Chris Johnson from what does he call his quarterback stuff? Complete QB?
Yes, Complete QB.
I know
He'll
Chris from back in the
Yeah.
wow, Chris is still at it.
Chris and I do a lot with the NJFCA.
Okay. Does he coach high school still?
I believe he still
I know he was
coaches
he was out,
a little bit. I believe he still does somewhere. I'm not completely. I don't want to give the wrong information.
I remember Chris back.
He does a lot of he does a lot of speaking and whatnot.
Was one of my first quarterback coaches at events back in the day. How about that?
Listen,
he must have been young at the time because
his wife, by the way, is phenomenal. She helped us at the clinic. She was phenomenal, just checking guys in and doing whatever with that kind of stuff. Like they made the name tags for everybody. Like, you know what I mean? She's unbelievable as well. And then Zach, who we have on Monday, Zach Payne, he's another he's a associate head coach and he's a DC out in Tennessee. And he's a younger guy, does a lot of things, is coming up the ranks. I'm excited to talk to him. And then Friday of next week, we have Nick, I don't want to butcher his name, Zuccino, who I'm really looking forward to. Been talking to him for a while to kind of get him on in terms of what he does and whatnot. I mean, look, this is really kind of like, you know what I mean? Like we get to talk to a lot of these guys. It's freaking awesome. You know what I'm saying? He actually was a walk-on long snapper / quarterback from Cedar Grove, and now who had chronic Crohn's disease and has now started, I don't want to say a nutritional business, but has started in that space as an entrepreneur, to kind of help guys go through it through that world of, but an amazing story. So, and just what he's doing now and what he's kind of turned his disease into, like, whether bringing more eyes to it and then helping guys through it. And then also like that nutritional aspect of, hey man, like this is really important. Like what you put into your body is what you kind of become. So I'm really excited to talk to him, but yeah, man, we're booked out for the next 2 weeks, like full slate across the board.
I'm going to text you a couple. I know I texted you to one guy. I don't know if you'll even be able to get him, but I'm going to text you another one I think you can get because he's in that whole clique. I'm curious to talk to him because he's the guy that they all talk about. And
what's the name?
And he's near here. Dr. Ken Clark.
Ken Clark.
Yeah. Corpus, Holler. They all reference him. I think he coaches. He's a professor, and I think he's also a track coach at maybe Westchester University or Westchester. Let me see. I'll look it up. When are we having a Miami guy back?
Gotta find it. He's currently rehabbing.
Why? What happened?
He had another knee replacement.
Oh, he had the other knee.
He's 3 weeks. Listen, he posted a video yesterday. He's 3 weeks out. He's 3 weeks post knee replacement, and he was doing full squats on a bar.
This guy's at wow.
He's at Westchester University. Sprint biomechanics.
So
But yeah,
you know,
Nick Soto, unbelievable, bro.
he's squatting. By the way, what
Yeah.
it was funny. You know how we talked about, like, I wasn't sure about the loading on the spine part. I mean, I know that squats are important, but like the level of it and how much you need to do, how much. It was interesting because,
Speed.
what's the guy we had on? Kula talked about how he's not sure anymore, and I don't know if I don't know how I feel about it at all, but he said he's not sure anymore of any loading, any like high level loading on.
Ken Clark, PhD, sprint biomechanics.
He's right in our area. I think he's Westchester University, like PA, that close. I think he's very close to where we are.
Cool.
Like that's an example of
I'll reach out.
If we get our own place thing, we could actually say, hey, you know what? We'll pay for you to come to the studio. Like, just obviously gas and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Take you out to eat or whatever, and get you in there. You know what I mean? Because that would be cool. Because he's so close, right? He's so close. So, but I think he'd be interesting because he is like he's a speed guy, but he's also in the weightlifting world too. You know what I mean? If you look him up,
Yeah.
And I think he's he's not just a professor. He might be a track coach too, I think. I don't no, I have it up here now. And he was a football player back in the day. So
Nice.
I think he'd be interesting because he's part of the modern thing, but he's also himself kind of a lifting guy. You know what I mean? So and he's done a lot of these studies. And he has his own little lab facility. Yet he's also a coach, I think, and he's also, I think, right? Is he a track coach too? I think.
Yep.
Yeah, and a professor. I think that's really interesting because he touches a lot of spaces that, when you see people battle each other in the battles, he covers like almost all of the spaces that battle each other to an extent. Sometimes.
Well, he's a USA track and field biomechanist for sprints and hurdles, biomechanics professor and assistant sprints coach at Westchester University, sports performance coach, all things speed. That's what it says. It's kenclarkspeed.com.
Okay. Yeah, but if you look at his bio, I think he was a weightlifting guy. You know what I'm saying?
Like applied sports. Yeah, man.
I think he was a weightlifting. So I'd love to talk to him because a lot of those guys reference him. I've watched a good amount of his stuff. Right. And
Fred Duncan's been tough.
Oh, he has been tough.
To try. Well, it's hard when their messages aren't open.
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
Because then you have to kind of like publicly be like, hey, could you shoot me a DM?
Dude. Yeah. Hey, dude, you want to look at our podcast?
Exactly. Well, now it's it's a little bit easier reference. Now I can go throw the, you know what I mean? I can tab the the website and say, hey, just go take a look at, who it is or whatever. Like on March 11th, we have Mike Wick, who's the co-DC at Princeton. And I met him last year, but I shot him a message last night and I said, hey, like your head coach has been on, and I sent him the website link and he fired it back like right with, when we had Trace on, and was like, oh, hey, there he is. You know what I mean? Like, so he'll be on in 2 weeks. But he referenced the page that I sent him. Like he went through, looked at the guests and like found them. You know what I mean?
Yep. And as soon as I get that updated properly, I wonder if I can. My goal is to figure out how I'm piece by piece doing this, but I'm technical, but I wouldn't say I'm a techie. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I have to literally figure out how to connect some of these dots, connect them with the AI thing, try it.
Did you see, and this has been my fear, kids now altering their huddle tapes using AI?
I did see it. I have seen it.
How are coaches going to decipher that? How will you know?
You want my theory on this?
Go. Yeah, because I think it's a fucking huge issue.
I think the NCAA is going to have to change this. Okay, they're not going to want to, but they're going because of AI, you're going to have to let coaches have a group of scouts that can go to games. So,
Damn. Like travel, like
listen,
like
it used
you're
to
gonna
be like that, Derek. Remember the old days? People came to
well,
your
like
games.
there's gonna be like a whole department now of like, hey, this guy's playing on Friday night. Not just hey, I have a bye week, I can get in the helicopter.
No,
and
I
go.
don't
Like,
think
you're
the
gonna have
coaches
it.
should. I think you should
No.
limit the coaches because that's for their lives.
No. Like you're gonna need, but now
Scouting staff.
But now everybody's got to have a scouting staff.
Well, in Division I, you probably have it already somewhat.
But think about the budget, like how your budget is going to increase with that now. Like now you got to pay for all that travel.
I think you're going to have to do that because of AI.
Dude, like I looked at that.
Like, how else are you going to determine? Like when
I'm just telling you though,
when
like
you were in high school starting to
watch
change,
it. I said,
were you
oh
in
my
Huddle?
God.
You were at the
I didn't have
the DVD era, right?
DVD era.
So DVDs did help though. Like you didn't have to go out as much in the DVD era. You know, obviously I was from, the end of the 16 millimeter. Nobody even knows what that is.
Well, my junior year highlight tape was on VHS. My senior year highlight tape was DVD.
So they probably were still
my first couple years of coaching were still DVDs, and then it started to transition to Huddle, and it was like, what is this? And then all of a sudden it was like, boom.
But I think when you were in high school was when they kind of stopped letting these guys go all over the place. Now, when I was in high school, I could tell you this is facts.
Right, because I only
coach, my AD would be like, "Hey, Duke's in the stands today." He would tell me, just like they kind of do with basketball and AAU,
Yeah,
he would tell me these guys.
I had college coaches come to a practice, right? Like
we would have them at our games in the old days.
I never had that.
Yeah, so and they would be at our games.
Practice, yes.
Yeah, no, they would be at games. So I think it's going to have to go back to now in Florida. They still go to games and stuff like that.
Fuck. I mean, look, you see every year, Shiano's at Glassboro or James Franklin's in a helicopter or,
but those are super high level recruits. In the old
100%,
days,
those are
in the old days, it was part of the scouting process that guys that were on the radar, pretty high on the radar, you would go out to watch them. They literally can't I could tell you. I mean, I probably had 50 to 75 schools in the stands watching.
Well, no shit. I mean, I get it. I mean, I just think it's just look now.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But I think that if you're right, I just saw the same thing that you talked about
when I saw it, and now it's like I've literally been waiting for this to happen because it's just it's the nature of the beast. Like somebody's always going to figure some shit out. You know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna find a way to do it.
Speed it up. They would
now look. We understand that. Like okay, eventually, like you're gonna realize like this is not that guy, but it's not gonna be until they're on fucking campus, or you've already given them that scholarship.
I really think you're gonna obviously you have to see him at camp. But that's not enough, right? Because you can't.
I think
you trust the highlight
needs. That's what I'm saying. I think it almost needs to be mandated. Of like, you got to see somebody in person.
Well, they're not going to mandate it, but I think that the best thing you could do is allow a scouting staff,
correct,
to go.
You have to.
Out. I mean, it doesn't have to be you have
but
five.
Look, here's the deal.
Five guys the whole job all season.
But I'm saying personally, Dave, like I would fucking love that job. Like
that's a fun job.
I will give up coaching on game day if you're telling me every weekend I'm going traveling and I'm checking like, okay, this guy's
I do it anyway to watch games.
I do that shit too. Like, hey, I'm gonna go to this game because this kid's there and I hear he's pretty good and they're playing so and so. Like, dude, how cool, especially if you're trying to get into that world, you're just out of college.
A lot of young guys. But you're still going to have a senior guy, right? You
have to have that guy. That's going to be the coach that's making that jump. That's the player personnel old head, but the guy that's already won a state championship as a high school coach and he's getting into the college ranks of like, okay, hey, I'll do this for you. I'll run this department.
Or it could be an old head who you need to coordinate.
Well, that will be the guy that will stay home and send everybody else to the site. You know what I'm saying? And So it'll be one way, like you're going to be able to do that. Or I think guys now start companies where, hey, this is our scouts, and you know what? Like, hey, so and so, like this company works for us. Hey, I want you to go see these 5 kids
for D3
this weekend.
D2, FCS. I think that because budget, there's no doubt. I don't think FBS will need that, service unless they want to get another pair of eyes, right?
Correct.
But they won't need it because they'll just spend the money, like whatever they would spend with you.
Exactly.
They might hire a consultant for it because I would always, if I was a head coach in today's era where I could be fired, I would have my guys, but you never know what's, even your own guys, you never know what their objective 100% is. You should have a paid consultant company, okay?
Right, because you don't want to bias. To me, I just don't want to bias.
Right. I don't want to bias because your in-house guys can be biased, can know a coach, your consultant, okay?
They're trying to use it to help them move up in the world, right? Like, hey, take my kid and guess what? Like, I'll give you a job. Like,
it's a private business. So they have, if they don't do a good job, you can get rid of them the next day, right?
Absolutely.
It's a lot harder when you have an internal staff and then you got to go through your human resources. Did you treat them fairly? Did you not treat them fairly? Right. It's not a slam dunk at colleges to get rid of. I mean, yes, they do it, but you got to come up with reasons. A company as your checkpoint. I don't like what your analysis is. Okay, great. You just fired me. You know what I mean? Like,
I got 15 other schools.
Exactly. And that's how it's going to work. Like, but I think that's what's going to have to happen. I saw that the other day I was thinking a lot about it. I'm like, why, it's going back to the 1990s.
Exactly like it.
It's going back to the 1990s and 80s. You're actually going to have to see everybody.
Come full circle.
It's come full circle. You got to see them. And listen, I'm not going to say
you can't make this shit up, dude.
You got to see them, dude. Even these JUCO kids or
we talk about like going to camps and running times, right? Like, look, this is anybody could do this, dude. Like, you could be a freaking freshman and all of a sudden you put together an AI tape and you haven't even played varsity. You haven't done anything. So we're looking at this, you know what I mean? Like, this could be anything. Transfer portal guys. Hey, here's my practice tape, but now all of a sudden you figure out AI and now you have game tape. Look, it doesn't look any different. You've seen the clips. It doesn't. It looks amazing.
No. Look, you really have to pay attention.
Yeah, you got to know that space to understand. I'm sure. In a
year, you won't even be able to tell difference. In 1 year, now it's just still a little quirky, but in a year,
because now it's like
with a new model every week.
100%, because now somebody's opened that door. Now, that's the piece I was missing. Now I can do this. Like, look, there's guys that are locked in rooms for hours a day doing this.
Yeah.
Trying to improve it, trying to make it better, trying to tweak this, tweaking that.
Isn't that the irony? Wouldn't that be the most ironic thing, that with all the technological advances, in order to get recruited maybe 2 years from now, you're going to have to be able to convince a coach to come and watch your game.
It's amazing.
You're going to, and guess who's going to be your biggest advocate at that point to make that happen?
Well,
your head coach.
Let me ask you a question, though.
You're going to need your head coach in high school again.
Don't they do this in the NFL already with scouting departments?
Of course,
Don't these guys go to college game?
That is what they do. That's what they do. That's exactly what they do.
Did you see Aaron Glenn's taking a bunch of shit because there was a video of him like nodding out, falling asleep during the fight? Listen, how much does that suck? Because people don't understand the hours that these guys put in. Here you are, you're watching 40 times over and over.
You're like this.
You give another a nod out, another 4-5, right? 1
4-5-1.
Boom! Now you're viral and you're
4-5-8.
Right. And you don't care now because the one time
I'm not even looking at this guy.
Like, I don't even care who this guy is.
I'm not taking a tight end this year.
It just sucks. I feel bad. I feel bad because we've all
And
done
he's
that.
already
Shit.
look if he
And he's
won
already
the
guys
Super
like
Bowl,
this
no
guy
one would care.
sucks. Yeah. No shit. If anything,
Right.
they'd turn it into a meme and spin it the other way and be like, look, this guy can sleep and still win a Super Bowl, right? But because they suck and they're the Jets,
they're like, look at this guy's
like this guy's an asshole. He doesn't do his job. We're paying him this, and he's falling asleep. Like fucking people, bro. Meanwhile, you got Sonny Styles, who's just like a freak of nature.
Oh,
like
that's the line. He looks like a wide receiver.
Dude, I was posting guys yesterday, 251 pounds, running 4.4s. Like it just the freaks are becoming more freakish. It's unbelievable.
Well,
and look, we understand it too. But we also understand too that like, hey, this is just one aspect of it. Shorts in a t-shirt, all that stuff. Like, I get it. It's not not football, blah blah blah. But buddy, I'm just telling you, 43-inch vertical, 11 something, whatever broad jump at whatever. Like, dude.
Well, I think the key thing, that's why this is what makes, I think, what we're doing and a lot of these other guys are doing is so valuable, because you are trying to show things to strength and conditioning coaches, like, but what Byron Jones, who played at UConn, who had the world record in the broad jump, 40-inch vertical, whatever, all those things, and then he was an all-star in the NFL, like all-pro, and then his career.
It's so cool.
And part of his blame is he blames a little bit. Now, he also said he should have he kind of should have
known it before,
said something,
right.
But the strength
whistleblower.
Well, no, he should have said like, "Hey, my body can't handle." Like what we've talked about, my body can't handle this. So but you're under pressure in the NFL. So he felt like,
but those guys, even at that point, even if they don't like, they won't say anything. They're like, "Oh, I just got to grind through it. I got to whatever." You know what I mean? Like it's different if you're JJ Watt saying, "Hey, I need time off." You know what I mean? Or like, because I can remember
he was an all-pro at one point. So like he felt like the overuse of heavy strength training and like.
See, now I'm very I'm sure that's curious. Like to me, that's where your agent comes in, and there needs to be shit in your contract.
Yeah. But there, see all right. So
that's what I think. Because as an NFL agent,
let me tell you about this. The NFL contract,
like how difficult it is. And let me present
the original NFL contract when you first come in. Okay, your first.
And this is what through like the players union and all that stuff, like the collective bargaining and all that stuff
is very structured. It's very little wiggle room.
Right, because it's your first. Now, when you get to that second contract, which is the big one, right? Like your second one is supposed to be your money.
You have a little more. You have more wiggle room. So what the problem is that first and the players' union has to fight to change.
And is it very generic for that first one? Like most of them are very, very similar.
Yes.
And like, hey,
you have to put specific language in there, which they do. Correct. But
if you're a first-round draft pick, like
he was, I think.
But think about like the seventh rounder doesn't have as much.
You're not.
Like you're doing what we tell you, and that's it.
Fourth round, you're not doing.
So I'm curious to like how does that work in terms of, all right, New York Giants have a strength coach, right? Here's what you're supposed to be doing in the off season. Well, I want to train at that.
There's a negotiation. So in the contract, it says you have to. There's a certain amount of workouts you're supposed to be present for. Right. You would have to put language in there, for that not to happen. The teams probably are reluctant on anybody outside the first round. Probably, I honestly, first round, unless you're a big name, late guys may not have a ton of the language in there. First 15, no doubt, probably do, right? So now, I was in the world where, hey man, we got a contract. Let's go. Like, what's our signing bonus? What's that? Like, that's what I was negotiating. But that's a difficult part. But it's a good listen to see some of the stuff that Byron has talked about, because it's a lot of the stuff that we're understanding now. And look, if I didn't have Anthony Pomo, that I had to coach Anthony Pomo,
you wouldn't understand it.
I wouldn't understand it the way I understood it. I was a different athlete than he was. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
Yeah. Had you not coached that, that would have been a different. This would have been different.
yeah, like he was tendon focused, like Achilles, like his Achilles, supposedly his kids are, by the way, the same way. But Achilles, and I don't know what town they live in, but whatever town they live in, they better be nice to the Pomos because they're gonna get a bunch of freaks. Achilles focused, dominant, I should say, tendon dominant, and like springy, naturally very strong. Probably could do a million pull-ups. You know what I'm saying? Probably could do all those things. But I remember he benched actually a lot for a guy that did not bench very much. So my point is that, he was one of those dudes. Like if he really like if he went, and to a place where they took care of him 24/7, before he went to college, like he ran like 10.5 and 4, maybe 10.4, 10.3 in college,
Jesus.
Like we were ultra careful with him. He could have ran faster in high school. There's no doubt. Like we were careful with him because the loading would bother him. Loading would bother him. And it wasn't until that like, that's why I tell a story of him, because before I had him, even though I played with a lot of freaks, when we played, it didn't matter if they were a freak. They had to work, you know what I'm saying, back in the day. Like, and you know what? I think now that I think back to it, like we had a freak that I played with. His name was Eddie Long. He ran 4.28 his freshman year. And they put weight on him. He was still a bullet, but he had a lot of injury issues. You know what I'm saying? Like they were always loading him. And if I think about him now, I'm like, he probably should have been treated a little bit differently. He was so freakish, Derek. Like so freakish. And he still had a good career. But he was hurt a lot. Like, in today's world, he probably would have been a jet guy. And even though he was 6'1", 205 and was running that. Like I don't remember the reason why he didn't go higher level. There was always a reason, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah, of course.
And it wasn't because of intelligence. He was smart. So it wasn't that. It was there was something. I don't remember what it was. Maybe his team wasn't good. I don't know. Right. So, but anyway, so he and all the genetic stream of his family, like some of them came to my events. They were all great athletes, like cousins and stuff. All of them. One played at Rutgers, Quentin Gauze, freak. You know what I'm saying? Like played linebacker, I think, with Baharness. And but they're all, the whole family, the cousins. It didn't matter who they were. They were all. And so I would have never thought about this until I had Anthony.
Right, until you get, you don't know something until you have it, right? It's why I think, guys with experience and like, you know what I mean? Like you see in certain things and then obviously like that matters. But now that we get to talk to so many people and get to look at so many different things, like, it's awesome. Like shit, I was at a freaking coaches clinic last night. I drove down to Gateway High School to hear guys speak and talk about, certain things and whatnot, just to kind of, it was more football specific based, but I mean, dude, It was awesome going down there and just hearing guys talk and whatnot on different things and outlooks and viewpoint. I mean, it was, it's freaking awesome, dude. Like guys are willing to share that stuff and whatnot. And it's sometimes you pick up on a nugget that you're like, holy hell, this is amazing. Like, oh, I could do this, right? Oh, I could do that, which is, I'm really excited about because we got another guest that'll be on once I get them booked and whatever. Todd, no, it's not Todd. I'm wrong. Coach Fairley, who's the head coach. I don't want to screw this up, but at a school in PA, he's the head coach, been for a good amount of years now. Yeah, Todd Fairley. Dude, it is
Todd Fairley.
Yes, he's the head coach. Where is he? God damn. Episcopal Academy in PA. Dude, 280 boys in the school. Every single one of their kids. It's a mandate if you're gonna go there. $14,000 a year, but it's a mandate that if you go there, you play 2 sports.
Wow.
I'm telling you. So I really look. I listened to him talk
How
about
you spell his last name? So I can
F
follow.
A F A I R L I E. It's one word. Todd Fairley. It's at Todd Fairley. And dude, I'm telling you, like that peaked. Listen, I was listening to him talk on turnover tackling circuits and whatnot, and it was awesome in that. But like once he said that about, hey, this is our school, small, everybody plays multiple sports. I mean, look, he even said, he's like, I have no scholarship players this year. I may have 3 or 4 kids that are going to go and play Division III football. He said, but I have 2 lacrosse players, a wrestler. I have this. You know what I mean? Like guys that do other sports. It was really awesome to hear him talk on that. So I'm excited to get him on.
I'm looking at the list of the people that were there. Interesting.
Oh, where? Last night?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was a great group. We've had a bunch of them on.
Yeah. Paradise, right?
Yep. Paradise has been on.
Paradiso.
Kings guy, right? Head coach from Kings. He's been on. He was there.
I'm trying to look and see. I'm just looking at. I was curious if Evan Duran spoke, right? Too from Keene.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's Evan Duran who used to play for Riverdale.
Yeah, I think he is. I've known him for a while, dude. Like, because we did that St. Anselm camp together too. He's at all those things. He hits on all of it.
Is that Evan Duran who used to play for Nympheus?
I'm not sure about that.
I'm trying to. Wow,
I don't know what his background.
he posts a lot. I figured I'd go through his.
Oh no, yeah, he posts a ton.
Twitter post and find it really quickly, but I apparently
not sure. He was at UConn, it says, for a little.
No, that's not him. No. No, I don't think so. No, different guy. Pretty sure. And then so that's cool. Was it beneficial?